of Ministers. The Prime Minister of St. Martin, the Honorable Silveria Jacobs, accompanied by the Secretary General of the Council of Ministers.
Good morning, members of Parliament, support staff, radio listeners, TV viewers, online viewers, members of the media. We've established a quorum of 12 members. I solemnly open this meeting, which has been convened to officially bid farewell to His Excellency the Governor of St. Martin, Dr. Anders Eugene Bernard Holiday in Parliament, in the presence of the people, in connection with the ending of his term as governor, and him therefore demitting the office of Governor of St. Martin, effective October 10, 2022. Please stand for a moment of silence. I've received notice of absence from MP Rolando Bryson. For this special occasion, we have several invitees. I would like to welcome, first and foremost, the Honorable Member of Parliament, the Honorable Ministers of the Council of Ministers, the Honorable President of the Court of Justice, the Honorable Vice President of the Court of Justice, the Honorable Prefet of Saint Martin, Vice Chancellor of Advice, Chairman of the General Audit Chamber, Ombudsman, Chairperson of the Social Economic Council, Chairperson of the Central Voting Bureau, Chairperson of the Electoral Council, Chairperson of the Corporate Council, Corporate Governance Council, Chief Public Prosecutor, Secretary General of the Council of Ministers, Secretary General of the Council of Advice, Secretary General of the General Audit Chamber, Secretary General of the Ombudsman, Secretary General of the Social Economic Council, Director of the Integrity Chamber, Secretaries General of the Ministries of Government, Representative of the Netherlands in St. Martin, Commander of the Military Detachment on St. Martin, Director of the Cabinet of the Governor, Commander of the Voluntary Corps VKS, President of the Youth Parliament, former Secretary Generals of the Parliament, former President of Parliament, former Prime Ministers, former Chairpersons of High Councils, family of His Excellency the Governor, distinguished special guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I will now appoint the members of the Reception and Departure Committee. For this committee, I appoint MP Sarah A. Westcott-Williams, MP Rayon A. Peterson, and MP George C. Pantaflet. I will adjourn the meeting so the members of the Reception and Departure Committee can proceed to the entrance of the Parliament building and wait at the stairs to receive and escort His Excellency the Governor and his entourage to the General Assembly Hall of Parliament. I hereby adjourn this meeting. I herewith reopen the meeting. Please rise for the arrival of His Excellency the Governor. I welcome His Excellency the Governor and his entourage to this solemn meeting. I now give the floor to the faction leaders in Parliament to say a few words for a maximum of 5 minutes each on the occasion of the official farewell of His Excellency the Governor, Dr. Anders Eugene B. Holliday. MP Marlin of the National Alliance faction, you have the floor. Yes, MP Marlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. A pleasant good morning and a special good morning to our Governor, Dr. Anders Eugene Holliday, and his lovely wife, Mrs. Holliday, Marie-Louise Holliday. Permit me to address you while sitting because of my present condition. It is for me a true privilege and honor to be able to address you this morning, and would not have wanted to miss it for anything in this world because of the many years we have known each other, not as school buddies because of the age difference, but it definitely goes back to when our governor was a little boy, and from then was representing St. Martin at that time as, believe it or not, an avid pool player. But for the occasion today, I think it is fitting to say Dr. Anders Eugene Holliday, Governor Holliday, was born to lead and was born to serve his country. He left St. Martin at a tender age to pursue his education. And after completing his education in the Netherlands, he immediately returned to his country, not his country, St. Martin, but at that time, the bigger country in the context of the Netherlands Antilles, and served with honor and distinction at the Central Bank of the Netherlands Antilles at the time. It was after 5 years of serving, and actually during the 5 years of serving there, he was chosen at a time by the government to come home and assist the turbulence that was taking place at GEBE. So it is not something new that GEBE is going through what is going through today. And in those days, Dr. Anders Holiday was called upon to assist. And he did, as chairman of the then Supervisory Board of Directors. And it was my pleasure to serve with him at that time as a board member as well. And shortly after that, Dr. Anders Eugene Holiday was asked to come home to his country of birth to serve at Winair, a government company. There too, he served with distinction, and not too long after that, he made the transition not to a bigger airline, but to the airport, and was privileged to lead the expansion and modernization of the airport to what it was until the hurricane destroyed it somewhat 5 years ago. During that time, Dr. Anders Holiday was approached by my person as commissioner to assist in advising for what we termed then a win-win-win situation as we were going through problems with the turnover tax and the central government. And he put forward a proposal that I successfully was able to negotiate with the late Prime Minister Poirier. I know I'm being indicated it's 5 minutes, but I borrowed some time from the other members who are not here. I just text them and they said it was okay with your permission. It is impossible for me to capture over 30 years of experience or some 25 years of experience with Eugene Holiday in just 5 minutes. After the referendum, he served in the Political Steering Advisory Committee for the then commissioner, specifically the commissioner, but for the minister, for the council of the Executive Council in general. And after the then chairman, Roland Duncan, resigned, he took on the leadership as chairman of the committee and served to the very end. And I know we are pressed for time, but permit me still to share one little piece of history. And usually they say what you discuss with the governor, you can't discuss in public. But the good thing is he was not the governor then. On our trip back from the Netherlands after we had successfully completed the major part of the negotiations, we were on the plane, the group of St. Martin delegates in 2010, and I was saying, well, hey, we have completed this journey successfully, and I thank you all. I said, it is now up to me to go back to St. Martin and compete for what I hope will be my job if the people would allow me to be their first prime minister. I say, but all of you get the opportunity now to indicate what you would want to be. And specifically to Eugene Holiday, I said at the time, well, I know what I have resolved for you. You will be the director of our first central bank, of our central bank. He said, no, sir. Been there, done that. And for me, it was like a slap in the face of disappointment. And I said, you don't want to be director of the central bank? He said, no. I said, so what do you want to be? He said, one thing and one thing only, the governor of St. Martin. And to me, it was like, really? I immediately put pen to paper. I put his name forward. And 12 years after, we are saying farewell to Governor Holliday, who served us with distinction and honor. And really, Madam Chair Lady, please bear with me, and I'll take one more minute, and I'll stretch that minute. I can't recall the countless meetings I have had with him as faction leader for many years, but more so as well as minister, deputy prime minister, and prime minister. And we used to talk for so long that instead of scheduling me on the days that other faction leaders or ministers would come, he would schedule me on a day by myself. Because when I go there for 2:30, we would be there until 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the night. And Marie-Louise would call sometimes 3 times to remind him that they have a dinner appointment somewhere. And I would tell him, please, a happy wife, happy life, so go home. Dr. Anders Eugene Holliday and Marie-Louise, it is my pleasure to say farewell to you and to thank you on behalf of the people of St. Martin for a job well done. Born to serve indeed, and in whatever capacity, even though you are bordering the pensionable age, I'm sure you're not going to hang up the hat completely, but in whatever capacity you continue to serve the country, I know it will be with distinction. On behalf of my wife as well, whom we've had the privilege of meeting you, not planned, but several times in Puerto Rico when you run off for your leisure time, we would put up in, as the people would say, in Plaza Las Americas. I hope to see you on such occasions soon again, and I wish you Godspeed. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Marlin. Members of Parliament, just for the record, an exception was made for MP Marlin to sit. No, not to, no, to sit, not to speak. So we will continue the meeting standing. That's all. Next, we have Independent Member of Parliament, MP Duncan. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good morning to you. Good morning to the SG. Good morning to my colleagues. A good morning to the Council of Ministers. A good morning to the distinguished guests present here. Of course, a good morning to the Governor, His Excellency, and the First Lady, and a good morning to everyone tuned in. I will be very quick. His Excellency, in my opinion, you have been an exemplary model for leadership in this country. You have served St. Martin with distinction, with honor, humility, consistency, and integrity. These are words that we keep hearing over and over, and it must be true. Your love and respect for our people is undeniable, and that is why the people love and respect you in return. What I have come to realize is that actually it is not the person taking up a position that makes them honorable. It is a person's honor and character that makes a position honorable, and that is what you have exemplified for me, Mr. Governor. Thank you once again for your 12 years of impeccable service and dedication to this country. I wish you continued success in your personal and professional life, and may God continue to bless you and your family. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Duncan. Next, we have MP Westcott Williams of United Democrats faction. You have the floor.
to His Excellency the Governor and Mrs. Holliday. Thank you for being in our midst today, affording us the opportunity to say thank you for your service to St. Martin. Governor, it's important to recognize a service such as that you have given. 12 years. 12 years starting at a time when you nor anyone else of us knew exactly what would be expected of us. Nevertheless, you stood it through. And today, we can truly look back and say thank you. Thank you for the service you have given to this country. Thank you for having built this country and the office of Governor of St. Martin. Oftentimes it's said at occasions such as these that your successor will have big shoes to fill. I want to paraphrase that and say that is not necessarily the case in your case, but the steps that you have taken, the solid steps that you have taken, those can definitely be followed by your successor. And I am sure that will offer, we all know it's him, much comfort in knowing that that path has already been made. But Governor, so much has been already said with respect to your office, your time in office, and your service. But for me, the time that you spent before taking office in pursuit of the status of country for St. Martin is what for me stands out. Those who were not directly involved would never understand what it took to remain committed for so many years to see the country St. Martin. So I can just imagine what it felt like that first day as governor representing a country that you fought so hard for. So today I say to you, thank you for your service. Thank you for the many, many discussions that we have had. Thank you for the challenges that we have withstood and the hurdles that together we have overcome because of our belief in St. Martin and its people. A special word from me goes out to Mrs. Holliday. What a role that you have fulfilled and allowed His Excellency the Governor to carry out his duties on behalf of St. Martin. Of course, we never know what happened where we could not see, but to the people of St. Martin, you were the embodiment of support for someone in a function that required so much of him. Marie-Louise, thank you for being that support for His Excellency, the Governor of St. Martin. Governor, I know that you don't have far to go following this, and I look forward to continue to work with you because I am sure that St. Martin will remain in your heart, and anything that you can do for St. Martin, you surely will. May God bless you, and may St. Martin realize how richer we are because of your service and dedication. And to Mrs. Holliday, thank you for being the support for our governor. Thank you, Governor. God bless you. And may you continue to work for St. Martin on behalf of St. Martin because that's where your love is. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. Next, we have MP Gums of the Party for Progress faction. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good afternoon to all gathered here, but a special good afternoon, of course, to His Excellency the Governor. Madam Chair, I would like to start off with a quote from American poet Henry Longfellow. Great is the art of beginning, but greater is the art of ending. And I use that because I've now met His Excellency in two capacities. Firstly, in the Netherlands, as chairwoman of Unified St. Martin Connection, where as a group of young professionals, we were incredibly nervous welcoming the first governor of country St. Martin to our Christmas gala. But soon after spending that evening with the governor and the first lady, I realized there was nothing to be nervous about at all. Everyone had told me, this is a central bank man, he's very serious. But the governor has his points of humor, particularly when it came to discussing how St. Martin could move forward and collaborate and cooperate with one another, with our partners, both here in the region and abroad. As a member of parliament, I've had the honor, despite of COVID, meeting with the governor as a faction leader for the PFP faction, where I tried my best to get as much as I could get regarding how we look at discussions with the Netherlands, discussions about financing. As you know, his background led me to believe I could get that much information, but he always remained very cagey, and I get it. It was very political talking to a faction leader. But that is where my quote comes back. Greater is the art of ending, because now I look forward to the continued service that MP Westcott spoke about, in service to St. Martin as a young parliamentarian, now without the blockade of governor in front of him, to pulling from that wisdom, as I believe all of us must continue to do. Thank you, Governor, for your service to the country, and especially I have to echo thank you to the First Lady. Having come from that world, I know the stress of sharing our loved ones with the country, but you did it with grace and with poise and excellence, and I wish you continued success in your service to St. Martin. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, MP Gums. Next, we have Independent Member of Parliament, MP De Wever. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good morning to everyone here. Good morning, a special good morning to His Excellency and the First Lady. There are certain times when the words of Khalil Gibran is very appropriate. This is one of those times, and it is taken from his very, very well-known book, The Prophet. And it is about, it is a lecture or the poem on work. You work that you may keep peace with the earth and the soul of the earth. For to be idle is to become a stranger unto the seasons, and to step out of life's procession that marches in majesty and proud submission towards the infinite. When you work, you are a flute through whose heart the whispering of the hours turns to music. Which of you would be a reed, dumb and silent, when all else sings together in unison? Always you have been told that work is a curse and labor a misfortune. But I say to you that when you work, you fulfill a part of earth's furthest dream, assigned to you when that dream was born. And in keeping yourself with labor, you are in truth loving life. And to love life through labor is to be intimate with life's inmost secret. But if in your pain called birth and affliction, and the support of the flesh a curse written upon your brow, then I answer that not, but that sweat of your brow shall wash away that which is written. You have been told also life is darkness, and in your weariness you echo what was said by the weary. And I say that life is indeed darkness, save when there is urge, and all urge is blind, save when there is knowledge. And all knowledge is vain, save when there is work. And all work is empty, save when there is love. And when you work with love, you bind yourself and to one another and to God. And what is it to work with love? It is to weave the cloth with threads drawn from your heart, even as if your beloved were to wear that cloth. It is to build a house with affection, even as if your beloved were to dwell in that house. It is to sow seeds with tenderness and reap the harvest with joy, even as if your beloved were to eat the fruit. It is to charge all things you fashion with a breath of your own spirit, and to know that all are standing about you and watching. Work is love made visible. It is that love for your work, Your Excellency, that makes you so admired and respected. The dignity which you brought to the role of governor is one that we should all embrace in any job that we do. It has been an absolute honor to work with you and be guided by your professionalism, respect, and love of country. Thank you for your dedicated service, and thank you very much to the First Lady, Mrs. Marie-Louise Holiday.
Thank you, MP De Wever. Last, we have Independent Member of Parliament, MP Emmanuel. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair Lady. You know, because of protocol being served, I say good morning to everyone and the people of St. Martin. I came here today to say that I have mixed feelings. On one hand, it's like I'm happy that the governor is leaving, but I'm extremely sad that the next one is coming. And then I say to myself, no, Chris, it's the wrong approach. I'm not going to speak about the office, but about the person. And is there someone more endowed with the spirit of goodness and love for his country than anyone else? Than His Excellency Dr. Anders Eugene Holliday here today? I think not. I was trying to put it in perspective in terms of moving towards the love for his country, and my colleague MP William Marlin did it for me. So today, to everyone here and the people of St. Martin, I salute someone that is unblemished. When he started at GEBE, according to my colleague, unblemished. At Winair, unblemished. The Central Bank of St. Martin, unblemished. Governor of St. Martin, the airport of St. Martin, unblemished, a record that no one can question. Yes, I have issues with the office because of the representation. But I listen to everyone, and I'm saying this to you today. There is no hanging up. Live a life and live a good life and live it long. Because the next time we come here to inaugurate you, it will be because you're going to be the first president of the Republic of St. Martin. So I salute you, Your Excellency, Eugene Holliday. And they say, behind every good and successful man, it's a magnificent woman. I salute you both today, Dr. Anders Eugene Holliday and your wife. Thank you very much for your dedication and your service to this beautiful island, St. Martin. Thank you.
Thank you, members of Parliament. Excellency, Mr. Holliday, it is my pleasure as President of Parliament to address you for the final time in your final term as Governor of St. Martin. Excellency, on October 10, 2010, you saw the emergence of St. Martin as a constituent state within the Kingdom of the Netherlands. I remember the swearing-in ceremony clearly. It took place at the Bel Air Community Center, which was a makeshift location. The reason for that was that this building of Parliament was not yet finalized, and both the government and the Parliament were still occupying the former government administration building. 12 years has passed since then. The government has moved to a new building on Pond Island, and Parliament has settled into this building with plans underway for the construction of a new Parliament building. These two accomplishments alone as a nation since 2010 are proof that we can continue building towards becoming as self-reliant and self-sufficient as our sister islands in the eastern and wider Caribbean regions. And you, Excellency, have made important contributions to this still ongoing journey. As a son of the soil, Excellency, you served with dignity and honor even during challenges caused by nature, politics, and sometimes both. I commend you for this and for your wisdom and discretion for handling delicate matters. By doing so, you have set an example for others to follow. The loss of acting governor of St. Martin, Mr. Reynold Groeneveld, was felt by your cabinet, St. Martin, his daughter, his wife, Mrs. Glenda Groeneveld, who is here with us today. And as you mentioned in your speech during his funeral, and I quote, "As colleagues, we worked well together despite our different personalities. For example, Reynold was open and ready to speak in public, while I was more reserved. But what mattered most to me is that we shared similar values, a passion for serving and a deep love for the country and family," end quote. It is with that passion, that deep love for country, and that dedication, we, the people of St. Martin, thank you. As indicated before, Your Excellency, you, Excellency, have played an important role in this process thus far and made many sacrifices to do so. Being the wife of a former office holder in many different layers of government, I too can relate to how it feels to having sharing a husband with his time with the people of St. Martin. Mrs. Marie-Louise, I am sure that at times juggling working at LM and being the wife of the governor was not an easy task. So I want to wholeheartedly thank you, Mrs. Holliday, for dedicating your precious time to the development and the improvement of St. Martin. Having said that, His Excellency, I sincerely hope that whatever future plans you have, and you know we spoke about it many times, you will continue to be available to assist this young nation of St. Martin on its continuing journey in one capacity or the other. Excellency, we, the people of St. Martin, wish you much success, whatever the future has in store for you, and continued blessing to you and your family. We thank you for serving St. Martin. Thank you for your dedication, and may God continue to bless you and St. Martin. I will now like to give the floor to His Excellency for his farewell address to Parliament and the people of St. Martin. His Excellency.
Madam Chairlady, members of Parliament, good morning. And special greetings to the people of St. Martin. It was truly touching to hear the various farewell messages from the respective faction leaders, independent members of Parliament, and you, Madam Chairlady. Thank each of you for your touching and wonderful words to myself and to my wife. 5 days from today, on Monday, October 10th, 2022, my term will come to an end. It is in that light that I appear before you today to bid you farewell as Governor of St. Martin. I bid you farewell also on behalf of my former colleague and friend, former acting governor, the late Reinhold Groeneveld, who regrettably is no longer with us. With your permission, Madam Chairlady, I request a moment of silence in honor of his dedicated and distinguished service to St. Martin as the first acting governor of St. Martin from October 10th, 2010 to May 24th, 2022. Thank you. I was appointed Governor of St. Martin by Kingdom Decree of September 28, 2010. On September 30th, 2010, I took the oath of office before Her Majesty Queen Beatrix, and I accepted the function as Governor of St. Martin before the people of St. Martin through the Parliament of St. Martin on October 10th, 2010. On that historic day, Marie-Louise and I set out with you on a new journey into uncharted waters. In my acceptance address on October 10th, 2010, I stated, my fellow St. Martiners, today we stand at the portal of our new country, St. Martin. From personal experience, I can inform you that the road to this moment was not smooth. But we made it. With the knowledge I acquired during that journey, I can equally inform you that the challenges ahead are immense. The tasks ahead of us are great. We will have to build critical institutions for the functioning of our parliamentary democracy from the ground up. In that regard, there rests on us a great responsibility, a responsibility to build and nurture a stronger St. Martin for future generations. With that responsibility, we also have a great opportunity. How we address this challenge and approach this opportunity will determine our success in the discharge of our responsibilities. So far, my remarks of 2010. Considering the challenges and opportunities, I, in taking on my responsibilities as your governor, from the outset established excellence in governance to serve you, the people of St. Martin, as my vision. A vision aimed at working with government and Parliament to provide you, the people of St. Martin, the highest possible standard of governance. A vision which I pursued during my 2 terms in office. I did so with an unwavering belief in and appreciation for St. Martin, our people, and our potential. A belief which I continue to have. During the past few weeks, various persons have extended best wishes and thanks to Marie-Louise and me for the work we have done. Your well wishes have been heartwarming, and we are grateful for your words of support. It has been an honor and privilege to serve as your governor for the past 12 years. Throughout my tenure, I have been able to depend on the support of many in our community, and for that, I hereby express my heartfelt thanks to the people of St. Martin. Your interest and support have been my primary source of inspiration and motivation. As I started preparing my address, it dawned on me that our country is as old as my service as governor. I was there from the very beginning. I was in the delivery room for the birth of our country of St. Martin as a country within the kingdom. And in the past 12 years, I have witnessed the stages of growth and the growing pains. I have experienced and shared in the moments of joy and in the moments of disappointments. And I have offered guidance, gave encouragement, and where and when necessary, warned. Looking back at 12 years, it has been an extraordinary journey. I remember the contacts with many persons in our community through national events, through the governor's New Year's receptions, through my working visits at schools, visits with the elderly, to government departments and others. These are moments and experiences Marie-Louise and I will always remember fondly. It was at moments like those that I always emphasized the importance of maintaining a standard of excellence. In that regard, the youth has always been my focal point, which led to my introducing the Governor's Youth Awards for Excellence to encourage our youth to always strive to be the best they can be in preparation for their service to our country. My 12 years tenure saw many challenges: economic, political, constitutional, and natural. The little remaining water of the Great Salt Pond between the administration building and the Parliament House were often troubled. The transatlantic waters between Philipsburg and The Hague were more often than not stormy. The waters of the Atlantic Ocean brought us the strongest hurricane on record in 2017. The coronavirus pandemic of 2020-2022 flooded our shores like a tsunami, and the 2021-2022 global inflation has been engulfing our purchasing power like a tidal wave. In short, we have had our fair share of challenges. It is my belief that we, like the generations before us, can and will draw from these challenges for the betterment of St. Martin. My work as governor began de facto with the September 17, 2010 elections. Following the elections, I invited the political leaders of the parties that won seats in Parliament for consultation. I was, at that time, not governor as yet. In so doing, I began my first oversight and guidance of the government formation process, resulting in the appointment and installation of the first Council of Ministers of St. Martin. That very first formation process was a signal of what was to come. There were some objections to the screening of candidate ministers, and there was ship jumping. From the inception, I made the screening of candidate ministers an integral part of the government formation process. It is a standard which I believe is non-negotiable. And because of my persistence, the National Decree regulating the screening of candidate ministers was signed in 2013. The screening of candidate ministers has remained a bone of contention to this day. The level of contention and objections were only increased in October 2014 when the Kingdom government issued an instruction by Kingdom decree regulating the screening of candidate ministers and charging me in my capacity as governor with the execution of the Kingdom decree. This caused further controversy in the already strained relations between Philipsburg and The Hague. For the building of any nation, of our nation, it is essential to set and pursue the highest possible standards of governance. Ensuring that the holders of public office meet certain integrity and national security standards is fundamental to guaranteeing the quality of government needed for the development of our country. I therefore applied a consistent approach to the screening of candidate ministers at every government formation during my tenure. That was possible thanks to the cooperation of all the former tours, the ministers who worked with me during my tenure. Several of them are here this morning. I therefore commend them for that and trust that we will continue to uphold that standard. Politically, my first and most of my second term were characterized by addressing instability and/or continuity in government. During my 12 years in office, there were 4 elections: 2014, 2016, 2018, and 2020. I oversaw and guided the formation of 7 governments: 2010, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2016, 2018, and 2020, and 3 interim governments, 2015, 2018, and 2019. Some of the most contentious moments during my governorship often came following the fall of governments and the call for early elections. The 2012 fall of government was baptized the Carnival coup. The 2013 political conflict was dubbed the Mexican standoff. I established a panel of judges to resolve the constitutional crisis following the 2015 fall of government. My decisions to ratify the call for early elections by the government in 2017 in the aftermath of Hurricane Irma and by the government in 2019 were called into question by officials on both sides of the Atlantic. In that regard, I wish to note that the right to vote and be voted for is a democratic standard. It is one of the most sacred rights in our parliamentary democracy, and it is our greatest obligation to provide the opportunity for voting to take place. Looking back, I cannot imagine that there is anyone who would say that the political discord and partisanship of the past 12 years is the standard we want for our political process. As a country, it is our obligation to self-correct and steady the political ship as we journey into the next phase of our country's development. An obligation that calls for us to rise above the narrow confines of our individual interest to the higher and broader concerns of our society. This realization is critical because it seems that too often public and private policies are driven by politics and factors other than those that are in the interest of our people, the people we all, I am convinced, we all love. In addition to the issues of instability and/or continuity in government, my second term was characterized by the impact of Hurricane Irma and the ongoing impact of the coronavirus pandemic. The magnitude of both crises resulted in the need and declaration of state of emergencies, including a hard lockdown of the country in the case of COVID-19. The damages caused to our infrastructure and to our financial and economic foundation are substantial. They have weakened the financial position of businesses and households and left our government cash-strapped. And the effects are expected to last for a long, long, long time to come. These two crises are game changers for our country. They emphasize the vulnerability, the limitations, but also, and maybe more importantly, the resilience of our people and island. Three factors which we should draw from to build a stronger, more sustainable St. Martin. These external shocks remind us of the urgent need to take stock of the challenges, risks, and threats to the sustainability of our nation. Critical in this regard are the education gap, poverty, climate change, energy transition, and digital transformation, among others. Issues which I have highlighted through my governor's symposia to encourage development of a cohesive national strategy, a standard necessary for the long-term development and viability of our nation. Considering the global nature and external linkages of the issues mentioned, it is essential that our national strategy focuses on strengthening existing and creating new partnerships within the kingdom and in our region. Partnerships based on the understanding that global challenges require inter-kingdom and transnational solutions. We must therefore continue to seek to broaden our geopolitical scope and to foster deeper relations and cooperation with our regional neighbors and partners. Throughout my tenure, I have, as a result, made several official visits to the United States and various Caribbean neighbors, from Trinidad in the south to the Dominican Republic in the west, to foster geopolitical and trade ties. It is my hope that these and future actions will result in St. Martin's participation in the OECS and the CARICOM. In the face of our challenges, I have seen the flaws of our country, but have been gratified to see that there have always been people ready to roll up their sleeves to find solutions and a path forward. Too often, that factor of St. Martin is not emphasized. In the face of political discord, there were always politicians ready and willing to move forward to find solutions. Persons who rose to the occasion to perform their civic duty, to organize fair and orderly elections where our people will go to the polls peacefully, thereby providing the foundation for the functioning of our parliamentary democracy and for our progress. As I indicated in my acceptance address, we would have to build critical institutions from the ground up. Today, anchored on the hard work of our dedicated professionals, we have reason to say that we have made important strides forward. Encumbered with the challenges we faced, we tend to overlook the progress we have made. It is in those moments that I remember our men and women who every day suit up to keep this country running. Our civil servants, our police officers, our teachers, our firemen, our nurses, our doctors, our supermarket workers, our garbage collectors, and yes, our politicians, and many others. If there was any doubt as to who constitutes the backbone of our country, COVID-19 reminded us. Because of them and others, I can proudly say that St. Martin, my St. Martin, our St. Martin, remains one of the best places in the world to live. That is not to say that all is well and that we do not have more work to do to secure the welfare and well-being of our residents. It is instead to say that we must aspire not to be one of the best, but rather to be the best country in the world to live. And it is to remind us that behind every corporate and public sector decision, someone is being impacted, and with that, the quality of life on St. Martin. In charting our path forward as a people, it is essential that we have a full understanding of our history and heritage. In 2012, I was therefore proud to affix my signature to the national ordinance to declare Emancipation Day a national holiday. It is the celebration of the freedom of all the people of St. Martin. It shows the courage of our people to face our complicated history. It is a symbol of our love for freedom. It is a moment in our history very worthy of commemoration and for all St. Martiners to stand and get behind. Looking back on the past 12 years, I reflect with pleasure on our observances and celebrations of Emancipation Day, St. Martin Day, the National Day of Prayer, and the National Thanksgiving Day, when we joined in friendship and unity and reflect our St. Martin spirit and nature. In my acceptance address 12 years ago, I stated, my fellow St. Martiners, it is my conviction that a bright and positive future lies ahead if we can develop a people-centered vision for St. Martin. I still hold that conviction. Today, 12 years later, we stand at a transition point in our young history as a country. We are witnessing a changing of the guard as my successor, Mr. Ajamu Bailey, prepares to take office on October 10th, 2022. In doing so, we can look ahead with and build on the experiences of the past 12 years. Madam Chair Lady, members of Parliament, to the people of St. Martin, I wish to remind you that our nation is as good as we are, and it will go as far as we take it. We know what worked and what failed. We know that political instability, ship jumping, and putting personal over public interest failed us. We know that unity, solidarity, and cooperation served us well. We know that our systems of checks and balances served us well. Let us therefore embrace the future with that knowledge and stand together. Let us support and stand behind my successor. In closing, as I said on October 10th, 2010, Marie-Louise and I set out with you on a new journey into uncharted waters. In those 12 years, a lot has happened. It has been my honor to serve you as your first governor and thus constitutional head of government on behalf of the King. A true privilege as a son of the soil and patriot to help build St. Martin in its formative years as a country within the kingdom. I have been able to perform my duties thanks to the support of many persons over the years. And to all of them, I hereby extend my sincere thanks. I considered calling names, and then I said, don't go there. In particular, I wish to publicly thank the staff of my cabinet, members of my extended cabinet who I could always call on, the members of the Governor's Transition Committee for their tireless work, the civil servants in government who I have been able to count on, the chairpersons and members of Parliament, the prime ministers and ministers who I've worked with, my siblings who were always there in the background, and you, the people of St. Martin, your interest kept me inspired. Finally, I'm grateful to my wife, Marie-Louise, my sounding board, my right hand, my confident and most valued support. And after all is said and done, I know that I made it through by the grace of the Almighty God, because as the first governor of our new country, most things were a first for me and for others as well. And history will show that on several occasions, St. Martin broke new constitutional ground. And I always turn to God for wisdom, courage, and direction. And he never failed me. Thank you. God bless you. And may God bless St. Martin and protect its coast.
Thank His Excellency for his governor's farewell address. With this, distinguished guests, we have come to the end of the speeches on this very special day. I would like to ask the Reception and Departure Committee to accompany His Excellency the Governor and his entourage to the conference room. Please let's rise for the exit of the Excellency the Governor. I would like to thank the Reception and Departure Committee for the splendid execution of their task. You are herewith discharged of your duties. Members of Parliament, ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for your presence at this solemn meeting of Parliament on the occasion of the official farewell of His Excellency, the Governor of St. Martin, Dr. Anders Eugene B. Holliday, in connection with the ending of his term as Governor and him demitting the office of Governor. I herewith close this meeting.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated as the President of Parliament and the Prime Minister, accompanied by the Secretary General of Parliament and the Secretary General of the Council of Ministers, exit the hall. The dignitaries of the front side will now exit the hall as well and make their way to the conference room. I would now like to invite the members of Parliament to leave the hall and make their way to the conference room. The Council of Ministers may now also exit the hall to make their way to the location for the reception. Please follow the directions of the staff of the Secretariat, who will guide you to the location. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. You may now also exit the hall to make your way outside of the building to the location of the reception. Please follow the directions of the staff of the Secretariat who will guide you to the location. Thank you.
Hey Mickey, jij bent hier voor...